Hey guys, I wanted to just talk about different types of miter saws. Um, some people call them chop saws, but there is a difference between a miter saw and a chop saw. A chop saw pretty much just chops, just cuts straight down. It doesn't give you any angles. That's all it does is chop saw. Normally, there's chop saws used for metal, cutting metal. Like I use chop saws with just a metal blade cutting rods for closets. Um, that's pretty much where you can use a chop saw. But we're talking about miter saws and the different types of miter saws that you can find out, in the store, at your local store or something like that. So, what is a miter saw? A miter saw is just going to allow you to make angle cuts um, where the blade kind of drops straight down. You can cut certain diameters depending on the size of blade that you have. There's three different common types of size of blades, which is 7, 10, and 12. So, but with a basic miter saw, you're just pretty much limited to the size of blade that you have um, to do your cuts. And so, like, there's different types. There's the regular basic miter saw, a sliding miter saw, a compound. You can get it a compound miter saw or a compound sliding miter saw. Normally, when you get a compound miter saw, it comes sliding with a sliding mechanism. Um, or you can get a dual compound sliding miter saw. The difference is with the sliding, the compound, and the dual. So a miter saw, like I said before, just makes straight cuts. You can put angle cuts, but you're limited to the depth of the wood that you can cut because your every part is kind of stationary. You can just move the blade up and down, tilt it left to right for your angles. But with like a sliding miter saw, it has a sliding mechanism on there where you can lock it and unlock it and have the ability to do deeper cuts. You can pull the saw closer to you and pull it away from you to make deeper cuts on a piece of wood. You are still kind of limited to size of blades, 7 to 10 to 12 again. But with the sliding, you can do longer cuts, so you can do bigger pieces of wood. Um, so, where would I see a miter saw being used? I see a miter saw being used for someone that doesn't really do any like hard woodworking or anything like that. They want to cut a few things here and there. You can save some money just by buying a miter saw. You might not use it often. You just might use it to cut a few pieces of trim, maybe to replace something, or that's it. If you don't plan on using it that often, I think your best choice is the miter saw because it'll come in handy. But again, you're limited to it. But again, if you're not planning on using it that often, you're probably not going to run into the situations where you're going to need a dual compound sliding miter saw. You might just need a miter saw. And so I think some people might like to know they could just buy a miter saw. They don't have to buy the dual compound sliding miter saw. Or if they think they're gonna use it for bigger pieces, they can do the compound miter saw. They can buy the sliding miter saw, and that can at least give them more ability to cut larger pieces. Um, the sliding miter saw would cut larger pieces, and then next is the compound miter saw. The compound miter saw lets you adjust the angle of the blade. So normally with the first two miter saws, the blade will come straight down. You could cut it on its angle, but now you can actually tilt the head and cut straight down on an angle. Either laying your you can, depending on the way you're going to cut your piece, but you can cut it on an angle, giving it that ability to not have to move the base, the table, to get your angles. You can actually tilt the head now and get up to a 45-degree angle. Now you can get those stationary as well, just like the regular miter saw, without the sliding mechanism. But again, if you want the sliding mechanism to get larger pieces cut, you can. I think it's beneficial always having the sliding. Again, I have two saws, one miter saw and one dual compound miter saw. The miter saw, again, I only use it like if I need to cut small pieces, or I just want to cut. I don't want to take out my extra large dual compound sliding miter saw that is extra heavy to cut some twigs or some pieces of wood that I just want to get rid of. So the next one will be a dual compound sliding miter saw. Now this one pretty much has everything that you need, but now you can, except for with the compound miter saw, you can tilt the head one way and that's pretty much it. With the dual compound, now you can tilt it both ways. You can pretty much tilt it left to right. You can angle it left to right. You can do a lot more cuts. It's pretty much for people that are doing extreme, like trim work. Sometimes you run into places where you need to do weird cuts, and this will be the best thing you can have, because it gives you the ability to do anything that you kind of want. But again, you're still limited to the size of blade that you have. If you have 7, 10, or 12, the one I have is a 12-inch. I plan on doing a video about miter saws with another YouTuber, so we're gonna do something together. He has a different type of miter saw. I have a different type of miter saw. We want to compare the two. So, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the different types of miter saws that are out there. So miter saw pretty much just does cross cuts, and you can change the angle of the cross cut. A sliding miter saw pretty much does cross cuts, and you can also change the angle of the cross cuts. But now you can extend the length that you're gonna cut the piece of wood. You can extend it by the sliding mechanism that they put on these miter saws. A compound miter saw, now you can adjust the head, the saw from left to right. You can still adjust the angle of the cut, but now you have the ability to, well, with the compound miter saw you can just adjust it one way. With the dual compound miter saw you can adjust it both ways. So hopefully this explanation helps somebody understanding that you don't always need to buy the dual compound miter saw. You might just go with a basic miter saw, because I've seen plenty of people, they bought a dual compound sliding miter saw just for like a small piece of wood that they were gonna cut. They spend all the money. It sits in the garage. Hopefully this helps somebody. Hopefully that somebody likes this video, comments below, and subscribes.